So my business is a music and media business. And one of the things I like to say is that we tell stories that you don't usually hear from people or voices you don't usually hear from. So at the core of it is a mobile recording studio, and we expand to other media ventures, like we do documentaries. We also offer video editing services. We do stuff like if you need to record an audiobook, so anything that has to do with sound and media is what we do. What good causes does our business support? Well, at the heart of it, this business supports young people. So especially young Black men. So I will get into how I started this business and the idea, but last year we did a lot of like research into crime and opportunity and statistics, and saw that certain groups of young people, especially in the inner cities, within a certain age, the teenage period between like we say 11 to like 19 is a very vulnerable age for them, because young men, especially because of the levels of testosterone and how boisterous boys are compared to girls, they get into like lots of like bad situations. So this business really wanted to give positive role models to these young men to say, listen, you don't always have to join or participate in certain things just because it's glamorized or because people who are doing it. Even in the estate I live in, have conversations like that. So this is basically to shine a light on people who are doing things positively, people who are making a difference in their communities, to show these young men that, listen, you can be tough, you can be popular, but you can do it the right way. And that's basically what we're trying to do. I wrote some things down. This is really personal to me. So if I cry, it will make good viewing, I guess. But like how I grew up, both my parents are academics, they're both professors. So when I grew up, I didn't really see anything or anyone better than me. I was raised to believe that what you get out of life is based on what you put into it. So if you're willing to work hard, you will achieve things. Um, but last year, I don't know what month it was, I saw the whole George Floyd thing. I watched the video first and I saw him being murdered on it was on my phone. And I saw that on social media. And just watching that, I knew that this is wrong. This is not normal. This is not what I should, it was a crazy situation. But what made it crazier for me was after that happened, after the policeman killed him, none of them were arrested. They were going to get away with it scot-free. And that kind of sparked the protests, and everything exploded last year. With COVID, tensions were running high. But basically, I did my research and I started to understand um, certain attitudes here in the UK, and also especially in the US with the elections, racial tensions were high. Um, but basically, I did see that there is aspects of or groups of people who believe that because of the color of your skin or because of your background, that this is who you are. And it seemed like there were stereotypes around certain groups of people. And I looked in the media and I saw that in some media places, those stereotypes were being reinforced. So I started to study history in the US, history in the UK, and just to understand, put myself in context. And doing that, I decided that's one of the things that I wanted. What could I do? Like I can't go out and protest. Um, there's nobody to fight. I had feelings of, it makes you feel, I don't know how to express it to you, but it makes you feel like, it wasn't like a couple of years ago, people from a certain race were regarded as 3/5 of a human. They weren't regarded as a real person. 100 years ago, Black people were allowed to vote, so that's a decade. There's people who are alive who experience that. So, now we live in a society where there's more corporate involvement, saying there's equality for races, for sexes, everybody should be treated the same. But we also have to go back and understand, because some of us have lost our identity. So myself, somebody looking at me who doesn't have any research, they think that my history is slavery. But my history isn't slavery. There were kings before that. There's countries, there's kingdoms of Benin, there's kingdoms of Ghana, Nigeria. So there's a lot of rich heritage, which we don't see in the media, which we don't see around us. And I feel my job is to let these young men who are lost, who think that, oh, because I wear a hoodie and a tracksuit, that means that I'm a drug dealer, or they feel like if they walk into a store, somebody, it's so much going up in here based on the color, yes, that people don't even understand. So when I did my research, I felt a lot of those chains falling off, because I realized this is my real history. I see kings who look just like me. I understand myself, why I speak the way I do. And I want to share this with these young men who don't know where they fit in. All they know is that you're less, all they know is that you're a thug, all they know is this, and this is what they carry in their head. So they have this rebellion and this relationship with society where they feel like I'm an outcast, so I have to either defend myself or I'm going to be a victim. The hyper masculinity that people criminalize. So basically, my job, I feel, because I feel I'm in a position to be able to reach these young men, and I feel like I have the knowledge to be able to give to them to say, listen, carry your head high and walk with responsibility. You're not just responsible for yourself, but you're responsible for your family, responsible for your community, and there's ways you can give back. So that's basically what inspired me to say, how can I give back? And this business is a way, and the media outlet aspect of it is a way which I can give back and reach these people. So this is where social business wheels comes in, because we had I've been aware of them and what they do, but I hadn't uh, engaged the services up until then. So speaking with Claudia, she basically I was at, the whole thing started like conversations like this. So I said, this is what I do, and this is what I can do, and this is who I am interested in. And we basically sat down, and the whole thing took shape over conversations like this. Um, so it was basically a way where I wanted to give back, but I didn't want to become a social worker. And I felt like the job I do isn't inspiring me. So we had conversations, and Claudia advised, and I'll get to that later on, but she advised how I could frame or structure the business in a way where I can achieve my social objectives alongside my business objectives. And that's basically the framework for which I decided to do a social business. So I think many people who have the same passion that I do may not understand how to turn that into a business. And I won't brag and say, oh, I always knew that this is the way to go, but it's my interaction with them is what shaped the social business. So I give credit to them for that. Well, it's been interesting and exciting. It's like a game of solving problems or puzzles, um, discovering new ways to adapt to challenges. So we started off it's kind of for me it was very new, and the thing I needed the most was confidence. So I always thought that starting a business is something which only a certain type of person can do. Like I feel I'm a musician, so I think I'm left brain, and I think only right brain people with organizational skills and good planning and stuff could do that. But um, Claudia and Social Business Wales really gave me the confidence to say, listen, there's lots of people doing all sorts of businesses. Like anybody can do it. There's grandmas, there's some young men or young there's a group of teenagers who started a t-shirt business, clothing business. So it was basically giving me confidence. Say you have all the skills to do it, and we'll hold your hand basically, and that's what they did. So like this is where I really sing Claudia's praises, because she's amazing in her role. She spoon fed me information. We'd have meetings as regularly as we needed it. So we had, is it once a week or twice a week? I'd have takeaway things to take away, assignments to work on. She told me at the stage what to do step by step. So it was basically like a classroom. It was very easy to follow. It was very easy to understand. She gave me lots of resources to look through. So it was up to me whether I did it or not. So it was really on me to succeed, because I had all the reassurance. I had all the encouragement. I had all the support that I needed from her. With all the information on the TV, people don't really want to engage with any services. They just want to go to the shops, do their work from home, and they're not interested in somebody coming to their house to record music for them or record something. For myself, this was a stage where we were developing a plan to roll out and trying to open a bank account, trying to sort out logos, and also like dealing with unlimited and the funding they're given. So for me, um, the hardest thing was the bank account, because I had to go back and forth. Some of the directors were in Nigeria. These are like some of my friends, people who were also in the industry who could weigh in. But because of the distance, so it was a bit tricky. One of my friends lost a baby, which is hard for him. He was a director. He's in Denmark. So I had issues with my directors, and I had to juggle. I wanted to get this done. I want to get my bank account open, and you're kind of like holding it up but at the same time, I had to understand that they're going through personal situations. So I had to put things in boxes. Eventually, I had to let go of two directors and appoint two new directors. And here we are, have the bank account open. That's just one of the examples. The other thing was with COVID, having to try and order two sets of equipment or as much equipment as I needed to be able to make people reassured that, listen, we're looking after you with the guidelines. So, for example, for the microphone, you have like a pop filter, and people who speak into it, that like the spit and all sorts of stuff in there. And we had to buy a couple of those to make sure that, listen, after every session we can clean it and replace, put a new one in, you know. So there's little things like that to buy, and finding out what I had to do to adapt to, um, even like with the headphones, to make sure that they were long enough to buy headphone adapters. So just little things where I had to adapt the standard equipment to specialize it for COVID times. So it was challenging and it required like resources, but luckily we're here now and we're looking to roll out in the next like 3 weeks. So, like I said in the previous question, it's all about like a game of challenges. Challenges will always come up, but it's your attitude towards them. If you get stumped every time a problem comes up, then you're just going to waste 2 hours or 15 minutes or however long it takes to bring yourself back into the game. But if you see a challenge and you say, okay, like how do we creatively deal with this, then it's a different approach and your emotions are also managed and you get a result quicker. So the major impact it had was just that it slowed everything down. So like the question, like with the bank account, we started trying to open it in September and we only got to open in February. Part of this was due to the like slower response times with COVID. Part of this was the other things I mentioned with the directors. The other impact is like a secondary one because it's with the equipment. You can't just have the straightforward. Everything is not as straightforward as it was like a couple of years ago. Now you have to think about how to adapt it for people's safety and for like directions, health, like health precautions. Also, you can't travel as much. So with my business being a mobile business, travel is limited. So in those three ways, with response time from like stakeholders and shareholders, with equipment, buying specialized equipment, and with the travel restrictions, that kind of slowed everything down. So I couldn't even dream of starting anything until after Mark Drayford made his announcement and waiting to see what the guidelines were. So in those three ways, COVID has impacted my business. Yeah. My aspirations for my business is to be one of the biggest media channels in South Wales. That's as big as I can dream right now. But it's to be one of the biggest media channels in South Wales, and that's my dream for now. It's gonna get bigger, and definitely, and I have. Anybody who talks to me, I tell them, get involved. Especially the young, like there's kids in my estate where I say, listen, have an idea, go speak to these guys. I keep sending people here, but most people don't have an appetite for risk when it comes to these type of things. Most people just want to play safe and get a wage, and I understand, but if you don't dare to be great, you never achieve anything. So yes, I highly recommend Social Business Wales for anybody who's thinking of starting a business, even if it's just at the idea stage. Speak to them. That's the best time to speak to them. You know, just do it. Go for it. Do it right now. Like don't waste time. Don't this is linked to the other question, but like I like everything to be perfect before I start something. But I realize that waiting for everything to be perfect before you start something is another form of procrastination. So if you have an idea and it's something which you've thought of not just once, twice, three times, four times, it keeps recurring, coming back in your head that you should do this, then that's the sign you should do it. So I would say go for it. Just do it now. What's the worst that can happen? Just go for it. Yeah, I think that certain people and certain groups of people feel like the system is against them, and maybe historically it has been, but right now everything is wide open. The opportunities are endless. Your only limitation is the limitation you put on yourself. So if you have any ideas and you have any plans or anything that you think can benefit your community, benefit yourself, anything you're passionate about, you should get in touch and find out how you can transform that into a business, because If you fight enemies, invisible enemies in your mind, you know, you wake, whatever your reality, whatever the reality is in your mind is what you manifest into the real world. So I would say just go for it. You know, speak to somebody today and see what they can do for you. Have a plan, but even if you don't have a plan and you just have an idea, just go for it. The worst you can do is fail. And many great people in history have failed and they've come back from it. The lessons you learn are priceless.